Hi, as you can probably see from the title of this video, this is my first video on booktube. It's also one of the first times I've ever filmed like face to face with the camera, so I'm sorry if I'm a little awkward. But today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books of 2024. I only started like getting back into reading in around March of 2024, so obviously that's where this list starts, but I read a lot when I was younger, and I read a lot of Stephen King, so there's also a lot of Stephen King towards the beginning of this list especially. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy. So, to start us off, I have The Shining by Stephen King. I really love the movie, like a lot. I've watched it many times, so obviously this was one of my first choices for books to read. That was not the copy that I read though. I got that one as like a display piece because I love the book and the movie so much. I read this one. Just really good. I would recommend reading the content warnings before you read it. I love it so much. I think that the revenge is really sweet. I just love it so much. Next book that I'm going to be talking about is Cujo. I gave The Shining 5 stars, obviously. So Cujo is really important to me. It hurt me very deeply because I work at a dog daycare, so dogs are really important to me. I love this book so much. The perspective of Cujo ruined my life, I think. Yeah, also 5 stars. Destination Unknown is going to be the first one that I don't have because I rented that one from the library, and I think that one's more of an uncommon Agatha Christie book. I don't know if I said that was by Agatha Christie. I don't think so. That one was 4.5 stars. I really like that one as well. My first Agatha Christie book that I've ever read, and it's really good. I'm pretty sure it was like a spy thriller. Pretty good random pick from the library too. The next few I don't have with me. The next one is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. That one was a 5 stars as well. I think that Grady Hendrix writes female relationships and women really excellently. I think that he writes teenage girls pretty well too. I am assuming that he probably had some like older women in his life that were good role models, and probably some that were like decently close in age too. Anyway, it was a really good book. It was a really good book about friendship and coming of age and the horror of that as a girl. Yeah, 5 stars. The next one I don't have is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. That one was 4.5 stars. I love this book as well. I really like the Native American symbolism. I love that he puts that in all of his books because that's part of his identity, as part of his life. My grandpa was Native American, but I am not like super connected to that, so I love reading about stuff like that. I also really like novellas that all connect into one novel, that type of storytelling. I would love to read more books like that, so if you have any recommendations. I do have this one. Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. I really like this. I know a lot of people think that it's like preachy, and a lot of people don't like the ending, I think, but I really liked it. I really liked everything that it had to say. I think that if you go into it reading it from a perspective of it preaching at you about veganism, then you're gonna think that it's preachy, but I don't think that like veganism and vegetarianism is really the center of it. I think the dehumanization of each other is a really big part of what this book is trying to say. Yeah, love it. That one was a 4 stars. Next one I also do not have. Around this time I started using Libby a lot. I just had a lot of downtime in my job, so I could read a lot of ebooks and stuff like that. Next one is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney, and I really liked this one. I guess it was really like the first classic thriller that not classic, but like typical thriller that I've ever read. I thought that it was really good. I really liked the reveals. I think probably if I read it from the perspective of like having read a lot of thrillers, I would not like it as much maybe, but I also think that that's the case for a lot of the thrillers that I read throughout this first year. Obviously, I'm getting into reading thrillers, so like things that I think would be cliche to a lot of people that have read like a lot of thrillers close together might not be as much to me, at least a year ago. The next one that I have, and I'm sorry, I didn't go into a lot of detail about Sometimes I Lie. I don't remember it like super well. It's like an amnesia thriller. I think I like that trope. Anyway, the next one that I have is another Stephen King, The Long Walk by Richard Bachman, Stephen King. This one was a 5-star. I don't know, I really like this. I like weird post-apocalyptic things. As a child, I really liked The Hunger Games and Divergent, so, you know, I like stuff like this. I really liked the ambiguous ending as well, and that is all I will say. And the next one I do not have. This one I also read as an ebook on Libby. It was The Dead Zone by Stephen King. I didn't find it scary, really. I don't think, and I don't know that it was really intending to be. It was like really psychological and weird from what I remember, and the entire time I think that Stephen King is decent sometimes at putting a romance subplot in his books, but sometimes it really misses. But I think the one in The Dead Zone was pretty good. Yeah, I really liked it. That one was a 4.5. And Now You're One of Us is one that I don't have. That one I got physically from the library. It's a translated from Japanese horror. It's like very weird, and I like weird books, I guess. It's really weird. It's about this girl who marries into a family and moves in with them, and they're weird. Yeah. The next one is The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Eric LaRocca. This I also read physically from the library. I gave that one a 4 stars as well. Overall, I liked the stories enough to give it a 4. Pretty hit or miss on Eric LaRocca. But yeah, that one was a good one. And then this one I do have Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I read this because of Haley Hughes' recommendation, and I liked it a lot. I would not recommend this one to everyone again. Look up trigger warnings, you know. But I think that it is really good, really effective thriller, like dark thriller, really dark thriller. It's very sad. I cried reading this one. Yeah. One is The Troop by Nick Cutter. And this one is disgusting. Working at a dog daycare while I read this book was really gross, because we had a dog that got worms in his poop, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get worms and die. Well, thanks to this book. I really like books that are super vivid and make me like have dreams or like real life fears after I read them. So yeah. One's about a group of Boy Scouts that go to an island and worms. That one was 5 stars. Really, really gross and scary. Next one on the list is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This one I gave 4.5 stars. This one I think was pretty unpredictable, just because like I found the twist, like the setup for the twist, really like weird, and I was like, I don't know where she could go with this. Like once it happened, it was kind of obvious, but I was like, what is this? Yeah, 4.5 stars, and I'm excited to read more Lisa Jewell. Next one is Ring by Koji Suzuki. Obviously love the movie. It's a Japanese movie, but the book is also really good. It's definitely like the prose is kind of dense, I guess, but I thought it was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. I started reading Spiral, the trilogy, or not the trilogy, the sequel in the trilogy. There's like another 6 books, I think, but I'm pretty sure the first 3 are like the main 3. Anyway, Spiral is like even denser. It's like very academically written. It's, at least for the first like think I got like 30 to 50 pages in, somewhere in there, but I will finish that one. The next one on my list is Lone Women by Victor Laval, and this one was incredible. I love this book so much. This one was like a all-time favorite for sure. I've gone back and forth on whether I should reserve my 5 stars for like all-time favorites, because when I do review a 5-star or an all-time favorite, I'm like, now 5 stars just does not feel like enough. But yeah, Lone Women, incredible. Weird also. Not as weird, not nearly as weird as like Now You're One of Us and those ones, but like, you know. Good Night, something. This is a manga by Inyo Asano. I gave this one a 4 stars. I don't remember what like pushed it down to 4 instead of 5. I really liked it. I have the second one, the second volume, but I haven't read it yet for some reason. I think it's just because it's really sad. So like I have to be able to take that in order to read more of it. I like the art style a lot. Obviously Poon Poon, the main character, looks like that, but then the rest of the people are normal. And Poon Poon's whole family is like that. Like bird people. That's like super misogynistic, just so you know. Next, I have The Stand. This is much easier to get out because I took out all the books on top of it, but this monster, 1,150 page monster. I hate this cover. I really hate this cover. I want to get a different one, but it's also like $25 for a paperback because it's so many pages. I love it. It was a 4-star because it was kind of like a slog to get through because it's so long. I think I probably would have benefited from reading like the extra edited version that he released first. But I mean, obviously the point of this book is the character development. It's not really like apocalyptic horror. It's like people living in that environment. I think if you go into it expecting it to be scary, you're not going to like it as much, and it is going to be harder to get through. If you go into it expecting it to be just like a character exploration, a slow-paced character exploration of groups of people in an apocalypse trying to figure out who to side with and what is the right action to take, I guess, then I think you will have a better experience reading this. Reddit says it's scary. I don't think it is. The Haunting of Hill House. I'm probably gonna have a few honorable mentions at the end, some that I rated pretty high, but like some that I rated 4 stars, but I didn't write an actual like text review for them, so I don't really remember why I liked it and why I rated it 4 stars. But this one is 4.5 stars, and I do remember it. Again, if you go into it expecting it to like actually scare you, I don't think that it will. It's like the original unreliable narrator. I'll say that. More of an unreliable narrator than like actual like haunted house events. That would be my best way to describe it. Yeah, 4.5 stars. Sorry. I really need a new bookshelf. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I rated this one a 4.5 stars. Pretty sure I rated it a 5-star in the moment after I read it, but then like retrospectively I brought it down to a 4.5. I really like the main character in this. I found the main character to be pretty relatable. Don't know what that says about me. You know, I liked being in her head for a book, you know? I think the twists and stuff were pretty good. Obviously, like, it's set up in a way that like you don't trust the narrator anyways, but I did because I relate to her. Not in like the way that her life is and like her life experiences, but just like her attitude about life. All right. Next we have One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. I got the ugly fucking Target one. And I also don't really like it without the dust jacket. I don't like the font. This one, really good. I really love the show Survivor and Big Brother and Traitors and everything like that. I really love competition reality shows and I love thrillers. So those combined, it was really fun for me. I really liked the interpersonal drama, and it was predictable in a sense, but I thought it was really fun and really good, and I enjoyed my time reading it, so 4.5. I think was also one that I rated 5 in the moment, but then looking back, I was like, not quite a 5, like, got edged out a little bit, just for the fact that, like, I don't think there were any, like, shocking reveals or anything like that. It was just such a fun time reading. Next up, we have Venus in the Blind Spot by Junji Ito, and I have the, dust jacket, like, on display right there. It's, like, sinking down because I don't have any of my books to hold it up anymore, and I didn't tape it up, but I really like the design of the hardcover, too. But this one was a 4.5. I remember really liking all of the stories. And I also really like when all of the end pages are designed like this. I'm reading The Familiar right now, and that has that, and it's gorgeous. This one also has, like, posters in it, but I don't want to cut them out, so yeah. That one's from Uzumaki. I know that. And that one I also rated it 5 stars, but I'm pretty sure I read it at the end of last year. Yeah. I love this book so much. If you like Junji Ito's art, I think you should buy this. This one also contains The Enigma of Amigara Fault, which is one of the, I think this was the first Junji Ito story that I ever read, and I love it so much. So it is nice to have it physically, because I read a lot of manga on my phone too. Manga. Monster. This one is really good. It's like a crime, mystery, thriller manga. That guy's the main character, and he's like a doctor? Surgeon. He's a surgeon. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I've read the first 2 volumes, and I love it so much. I tried to watch the show, but I don't really have the attention span to watch manga fully in sub. Like, I have to be able to switch between dub and sub depending on, like, my attention span at the moment and how I'm feeling at the moment. And they only have sub for this on whatever I tried to watch it on, so. But I'm loving the manga very much. Alright, my red shelf is cleared out. Next one we have I Am Legend, which I'm pretty sure almost any edition that you get of this is gonna have other Richard Matheson short stories in it. But the bulk of it, like, let's see, alright. That is all I Am Legend, and the rest is other short stories. Which my rating for I Am Legend and a couple of the other stories was 5 stars. Some of them were not as good, but that is also in the context of a lot of those concepts being done to death, and this was written like 80 years ago. So, I mean, I can't really... They weren't done to death when Richard Matheson wrote this, you know? It's just... I'm living in 2025. Next up, we have Real Americans. Oh, it's coming down. Real Americans by Rachel Kong. I love this book. I cried multiple times while reading this book. I loved the multiple perspectives. The perspectives span multiple generations. I got this one from Book of the Month. I don't know if the hardcover normally looks like this, but I think the color combination is beautiful. I kind of wish that I hadn't gotten it from Book of the Month, because I think that if it had like a gilded dust jacket, that would be so beautiful. Like if those lines in between were gilded and stuff like that, that would be gorgeous. But Book of the Month is cheap and not gonna do that, which is why I canceled my subscription. and I'm never gonna get a fucking sponsorship from them now. But it's fine. Next up, I didn't talk about that one enough. I love that book. That was like definitely one of my favorites of the year, probably favorites of all time. I mean, this whole video is my favorites of the year. Probably gonna be one of my favorites of all time. I don't want to spoil anything, but I just loved it so much. So good. Next up, Confessions by Kane Minato. I read this one on a camping trip, and it was really fun. Again, I love multiple perspectives if they're done well and distinguishable, which I think that they were in this book. I think that the prose in Real Americans made it a little bit harder to distinguish, but whatever. This is another translated Japanese one, which you've probably heard of this book if you are on booktube, but you know, it's really good. What can I say? 5 stars. I really liked the reveals. I also found it pretty horrifying at times. Next, Witch Hat Atelier Volume 1. I have that down here for some reason. Okay. Witch Hat Atelier Volume 1. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know. But this one is like very cozy slice of life fantasy manga. It's about witches, obviously. And it's really good, and I can't wait to read more of the series. I also have Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen Volume 1, but I haven't read it yet because I think it's like, I think it might spoil the like characters of the manga a little bit, but it has recipes and stuff. Alright, so we're getting towards the end. I will have a few honorable mentions at the end. I only kept ones on this shelf that I rated in the moment 4 stars or above, so I will talk about those as well. But this one is The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. This one's more of a young adult literary fiction. The prose is beautiful. I really want to read some of Sandra's poetry. She's more of a poet, so like it has a very poetic prose, and I find it really beautiful, and it's just a coming of age story about growing up in a poor area in Chicago. So the last one on my list here is another Stephen King, Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I was really scared to read this, especially when I was younger, because I knew it was going to be really, really sad. And it was. I cried like several times while reading this, but I found it so beautiful and captured grief really well. I love it. I love it a lot. And I did find it pretty scary, honestly. Yeah. I don't honestly find myself like actually scared by books like when I'm not reading them, you know? But that one, I thought about that one for a little bit. So now we're on to my honorable mentions. So I'm not really doing this in any order because I didn't write them down. I'm just grabbing the rest of them on my shelf that I want to talk about. Obviously, you could probably tell this top shelf is for my read books currently, but I really need a second bookshelf, so I'm probably going to organize that differently soon. Anyway, Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. This one, also relatively weird. This one's definitely a horror manga, I would say. Like horror thriller, but like I would put horror first in that categorization, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's about, he's not that young when you're reading it, but it's about a little boy and his mom is like super overprotective of him. Like, I'm not gonna say the word, but hopefully you know what I mean. Paris Apartment, I rated this one 4 stars, but this one was also one that I didn't write a review for when I read it. After I read it, I was like getting kind of tired of writing Storygraph reviews. But yeah, I remember really liking this one. I don't think I was like, I wasn't really thinking about it in a way that I was trying to like solve the mystery while I was reading it, but I didn't predict the twist, I don't think. I don't remember it being like predictable or anything like that. The Midnight Feast, I believe, is another Lucy Foley book. And I'm interested in that one, but the guest list did not really intrigue me. And then the last one will be Everyone Here is Lying by Sherry Lapina. I don't know why this isn't on my list, actually. I think it might have been another one that I didn't write a review for. Let me read the synopsis. Yeah, so this one, even after remembering or reading the synopsis, I don't remember it that well, so that's probably why I didn't actually write it down on my list. But yeah, I remember liking it when I read it. So yeah, as you can see, I guess you can't really see, but I generally am pretty good at liking the books that I buy. I do have quite a bit of unread books that I have accumulated over the last 9 months or whatever. But I don't know. I think that I'm better at buying books that I really think that I'm gonna like. I'm more like adventurous at the library, I suppose. So yeah, hopefully this year I also like most of the books that I read. I will think about making a worst books of 2024 video, but I don't think I have enough for it to really be worth being a video. So yeah, see you in the next one.